Seriously?
Seriously?
Kumail. All right, Kumail Nanjiani. Brilliant comedian and a huge Ghostbusters fan. He couldn't believe, he said, I'm so excited to be working on a Ghostbusters movie because it was one of his favorite movies growing up, and he's a comedy fanatic. He's also a great comedian. One of my favorite memories of shooting this film was sitting with Kumail in between scenes, and Dan Aykroyd was sitting next to him. Being the comedy fan that I am, and Kumail, I knew he was a fan, and Patton Oswalt was sitting next to us too. I was like, Dan, how did you start the Blues Brothers? And I remember Kumail looking at me, and I looked at Patton, and Dan said, well, you know, back in the 70s, and he started telling us a story, and then I said, well, what about when you were doing Saturday Night Live, and you and Belushi, how did that start? Were you in Canada? He's like, I was, and I came back down to the States with John Candy. He was my friend, my roommate at the time. And so then I started asking these comedy questions. But I remember Kumail taking his phone, and I could see him trying to record it. And I'm like, Kumail, you can't, just don't stop. He's like,
Kumail Nanjiani. He loves to do improv. He loves to mess around with stuff on set, and he's like just very entertaining to be around. I saw him on set when he had frosted tips.
Yeah.
And he was very...
Nobody talks about the frosted tips.
No one talks about the frosted tips.
Fun fact, Kumail has frosted tips in this.
Kumail has frosted tips in this film.
Logan Kim. So Logan, I met on Afterlife, and this was one of his very first jobs he had ever taken. He was this funny little kid, so innately talented, with this huge personality, a complete goof. And then I showed up this time, and he's also, it hasn't changed, the sweetest kid, great sense of humor, but he was about 1.5 feet taller, in a deep voice, and he had all of the things that a teenager has, which it like almost like a self-conscious, I want to look cool, I gotta be, like his insecurities were more pronounced as a teenager. He's such a good kid.
Oh, Dan.
I think he was the first of the original Ghostbusters that I met.
Yeah.
I met him at Ghost Corps. I have like old pictures of me with him. He's also just one of the loveliest people in the entire world. I think that he's an angel, and I'd protect him with my life.
Ghostbusters is based on his obsession with ghosts growing up.
Okay, so Dan lives his life with 1 foot in the astral plane. Ghostbusters is his life story. If you ever had any kind of questions about the paranormal, really about anything specific and weird in the world, ask Dan, and he will then just go on a diatribe about it. He's unfazed by anything and will speak at great length and detail about the paranormal, about where this movie comes from, what he thought about it when he was writing it for the first time, and his connection to ghosts. He is a national treasure.
Bill Murray.
Ooh.
He improvised this scene where he gets the alcohol out of the thing, liquid courage. He improvised that. And he said it had to be apple brandy. That was his one stipulation.
Yeah.